Oh, hi, everybody. My name's Brendan Cox. I'm the Chief Superintendent for Human Resources, Capability Planning and Staffing for Fire and Rescue New South Wales. I want to welcome you to our Q&A session for the Permanent Firefighter General Campaign for 2020. We've got an illustrious panel of experts from Fire and Rescue New South Wales here to help with the answering of the questions that you've provided for us. So I'd like to introduce the team that we have assembled today. We have the Manager of Recruitment, Ms. Sue McDougall. We have the Manager, Team Leader of Health and Fitness, Mr. Mark Gabriel. We also have Ms. Chrissy Strickland, the Team Leader for Health and Medical. We have Station Officer Brett Johnson from Castle Hill Fire Station. And we also have Firefighter Alexandra Moulos, who has recently gained the role of Wellbeing Officer in the People and Culture Directorate, also an experienced firefighter with Fire and Rescue New South Wales. Thank you all for joining us today. Our next question relates to the medical process. So what is the medical process like and what does it involve? So that's over to Chrissy for that response.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. Conditions of firefighting are unique. And the cardiovascular, physical and psychological demands of the job are high. Fire and Rescue has a duty of care to individual firefighters, their colleagues and the public, and subsequently firefighter applicants are medically assessed to ensure they can carry out essential tasks without significantly increasing their personal risk of injury or illness. They are unlikely to place others at risk and meet the medical standards of the commercial vehicle driver's licence. There's no actually exhaustive list of medical conditions which prevent you from applying for a permanent position with Fire and Rescue. We assess people on a case-by-case basis. But if you have any medical conditions, you may be required to supply further information for the medical assessment. Prior to your appointment for Fire and Rescue medical assessment, you'll be required to have pathology testing, urine testing, which also includes the chain of custody drug testing, and ECG and spirometry testing. But you can't claim these against Medicare because it doesn't cover costs for pre-employment medicals. You need to budget because these tests can range from costs from anywhere between $400 and $600 in total. We ask you to complete the pre-employment health assessment questionnaire. You send the results then to us. Then we do the medical assessments here at Greenacre. And we look at your pathology, your spirometry, your ECG, your blood pressure vision test, baseline observations, heart and lung observations, and joints and range of movement reviews. And any information that you provide to us is preliminary. Additional information or assessments may be required based on what our occupational physician, which is our doctor here that we employ, what her and his assessment is. Costs with any additional testing for these pre-existing conditions that you may have were requested by us for the purpose of suitability to the role will be, in the majority, will be your cost. When all the information is reviewed, the occupational physician then determines your medical suitability to become a firefighter and then advises recruitment accordingly.
Okay, our next question is also a medical question and relates to hearing issues. I have very limited hearing in my right ear, glasses for distance. Am I at a disadvantage during the recruitment process? Also for Chrissy.
Thanks, Brendan. Well, firefighting is a hearing critical condition and significant hearing loss may represent risks for the safe undertaking of the inherent requirements of firefighting in relation to hearing. Good hearing is required in each ear. A failure to hear well on duty can lead to a failure to respond to imminently hazardous situations, thus jeopardising the safety of the firefighter and others relying on them for your safety. Currently, there are no hearing assistance devices, i.e. hearing aids, that have been assessed as suitable by Fire and Rescue for the purpose of firefighting. Adequate vision is required to safely and effectively perform operational firefighting duties. In relation to visual acuity for distance vision specifically, firefighters must meet the minimum requirements as set out in the Assessing Fitness to Drive Visual Acuity Standards for Commercial Vehicle Standards. This minimum level of visual acuity can be met with or without corrective lenses, i.e. contacts or spectacles, where each eye is tested separately. In addition, given the dynamic nature of the operational environment, which can be hazardous, a minimum uncorrected vernacular which is using both eyes, visual acuity of 6/60 must also be met. This requirement is to ensure firefighters have a minimum level of visual acuity in the event of dislodgement or loss of any necessary vision correction within the operational environment.
Okay, thank you, Chrissy. Hi, according to AFAC medical guidelines for firefighters, a prior history of major depression is a Category B condition that will commonly preclude firefighting unless specified conditions are met. Does Fire Rescue New South Wales have similar conditions, for example, to the AFP, being the Federal Police, in which you will have needed to have successfully withdrawn from antidepressants for a specified period of time before you can be considered for the role? There's a secondary part of this question. In the same line of inquiry, is medicated ADHD also considered a Category B condition? I am aware that the presence of medicated ADHD can affect the success of Defence Force applications. I know that the Defence Force and police have different roles to firefighters, but as they are all operational vocations, I wondered if there are some crossover in medical guidelines for similar reasons. This is from Anna, and this will be directed to Chrissy also.
Hi again. The physical, as I said before, the physical and psychological demands of being a firefighter are high, with duties being undertaken in adverse environments. Duties are of a safety critical nature whereby impairment of situational awareness in an individual firefighter can impact not only on their safety, but that of others relying on them. Individual firefighters applicants are assessed on a case-by-case basis, as I've said, but where there is a history of mental health condition, the assessment would include, but may not be limited to, the nature of the diagnosis, the severity of the condition, its cause, its expected natural history, treatment required and ongoing treatment needs. The current clinical status in relation to the condition, including period of remission, and how the psychological demands and conditions of firefighting may interact with the condition, i.e. like exposure to stressful or traumatic situations, shift work, etc. Where a firefighter is treated with the medication, any side effects relevant to firefighting work, example sedation or other neurocognitive effects, interactions with heat tolerance, interactions with cardiovascular function. It is also carefully considered for any potential impact on safe firefighting. Firefighters strongly advises against applicants ceasing regular medications for the purpose of an employment medical. Medications in general and the underlying reason for their use are therefore assessed by Fire and Rescue at the pre-employment medical. Medications are assessed in terms of any potential for impairment, adverse interactions with the conditions of firefighting, and any potential dosing issues related to 24 and other shift types.
Okay, our next question is a medical fitness question, partly for Chrissy, and Mark may want to answer a part of this one as well. Hello there, a medical fitness question. Since my 2 pregnancies 5 years back now, I feel better when I am weightlifting, especially a deadlift, with an SI belt support. I do not have pain in the SI joint or spinal issue of any sort, but I feel better mentally when I have it on me. Is this a medical hurdle to become a permanent firefighter? If Chrissy, you could address the medical hurdle aspect, and Mark, you might want to follow on.
So with the question there, can I wear my SI belt operationally? If you actually need to wear this operationally, then the occupational physician should probably review your condition and to ascertain if there's an underlying condition. I'll take it over to Mark now to explain about wearing it on duty.
Yeah, so I would certainly add, Chrissy, that the consideration really does sit with the occupational physician, because it is an orthopaedic consideration, which is out of the scope of the health and fitness section, and how we would assess the suitability of, well, the functioning of that joint in the first instance, and whether it's accommodatable to use any additional apparatus to be safe as a firefighter. So in the first instance, it's important that they are assessed by the physician and that call is made. Pending their response, it would then flow on to other sections within health and safety to understand if it can be accommodated and how it can be accommodated. That's perhaps beyond the scope of this answer, but then it would come to understanding various capabilities of movement and stability of that joint.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And if the question actually is, can I wear my SI belt in the fitness room, then that's a yes. But if that's an underlying condition, like Mark said, we will have to assess.
Great, thanks to you both. The next question, also a medical question for Chrissy. I currently wear glasses and I'm looking at having laser eye surgery to correct my vision. Are there any specific requirements for those who have had this surgery? Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. I've answered some of the questions just previously, so I'll just talk about laser eye surgery itself. If laser eye surgery is undertaken to improve your visual acuity, and there are no specific contraindications for firefighting once the appropriate post-operative period has passed, In relation to visual acuity for distance vision specifically, firefighters must meet the minimum requirements as set out in the Assessment Fitness to Drive Visual Acuity Standards for commercial vehicle standards. As I said, the minimum level of visual acuity can be met with or without corrective lenses, or each eye is tested separately.
Great. Our next question is for Mark Gabriel. An important part of the recruitment process is the Physical Aptitude Test. Is there any further physical testing or requirements needed once employed as a permanent firefighter?
That's a great question. So Fire and Rescue New South Wales firefighters, they have a mandatory requirement under their award to undertake periodical medical health checks and fitness drills. The fitness drills are an annual requirement, and they provide firefighters and their crew with practical information on their fitness as it relates to the work that they do. Whether it's to maintain the good fitness that they already have or just to get back on track, this annual fitness drill enables the firefighters to make appropriate adjustments to their physical training and, if they need to, engage with the health and fitness team and their relevant FireFit programs.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. Our following question here is for Sue and also for Mark. I applied 2 years ago and some of the questions asked I answered truthfully. However, I was wondering if you could shed some light if possible. For fitness, I do a mix of CrossFit and MMA. One of the questions refers to the last fight I had and I answered a few weeks ago due to training. Would this hinder the process?
If I might lead off there, Mark. So candidates are asked to answer questions truthfully, and responses from previous campaigns are not reviewed. So that's how I'd respond to that one.
Yeah, Sue, I haven't much further to add. Obviously, with what that information is, it's appropriately assessed in terms of risks that may be apparent when they undertake the physical testing. It's all dependent on what stage of the recruitment process we need to consider that information for. But back to your first point, the candidates are asked to answer the question truthfully.
Great, thanks to you both. Here's a great question for Alex. What is the best emergency service to join? To be performing big rescues? Firefighter, ambulance rescue, be it the Supt or the SCAT team, or police rescue? And how would you go about getting into the rescue squad? Have you got any tips, Alex?
Obviously, fire and rescue is the best, but emergency service organisations all provide vital community services, and none of them are specifically about rescue. Firefighters complete community engagement activities, fire safety education, and to high-risk communities, as well as safety drills, training, and assist other agencies in incidents. My tips to getting into a rescue squad would be get in first and work and train as hard as you can, and if you're good enough, you'll get selected.
Excellent answer, Alex. We have another question for Alex here, and it's a question that gets asked by many retained firefighters. Why don't Fire and Rescue have a transition from retained to permanent firefighters? It would be far more cost effective, as well as meet all required equal employment policies. Kind regards from Darren. So I'll start that by saying that currently we have about 25 to 30 retained firefighters move across to permanent firefighting ranks every 12 months. So there is a good flow of retained to permanent. But Alex, would you like to address that question further?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, retained firefighters have been successful in obtaining permanent firefighter roles, and Fire and Rescue encourages retained staff to apply for those roles due to their expertise and knowledge that they've already gained. As I mentioned previously, I myself was a retained firefighter before joining the permanent firefighter ranks.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Next question. For many people, the prospect of joining the Fire and Rescue Service is a lifelong ambition. Given that many people now elect to study at universities and colleges before finding a career, the first available opportunity to apply for the position of trainee firefighter may come well after the conclusion of their studies. Do you come across many applicants who have attained undergraduate and postgraduate degrees? Might such qualifications be viewed as surplus to requirement and thereby negatively affect one's application? Thanks for running this event. All the best, Steve. I'll start the response there, and I might hand to Sue if you'd like to address that a little bit further, Sue. I will say that we attract applicants from all backgrounds and all educational standards. some with trades, many with postgrad and undergraduate degrees, and some that have just been working without those qualifications in their historical employment. So we aim to attract a really broad array of candidates, and that is demonstrated through the successful number that come through at the end of each campaign. But Sue might like to talk further about the requirements and what we've seen over the last few years.
Yes, thanks, Brendan. Look, I would say probably over the last 3 to 5 years there has been increased diversity of qualifications that people have coming through. Traditionally, previous to that, we still have a lot of tradespeople coming through, and they do very well in terms of being a permanent firefighter. But we're all seeing, lots of, teachers, graphic designers, IT engineers. So it doesn't matter what background you come from. What we're looking for is community-minded people. Obviously, with the right attitude, they want to come to work, attend regularly, be part of a team, solve problems, and obviously respect each other when they're at work. So this is what we value as permanent firefighters.
Great, thanks very much, Sue. The next question I might direct to Brett, if you don't mind, Brett. It says, hello, what courses apart from permanent firefighter training program could be completed? So I'll take that one to mean once you've joined as a permanent firefighter within Fire and Rescue New South Wales. Could you enlighten us all on the types of training and courses that people are eligible to be a part of?
Yeah, sure. It's actually quite varied, and as time has gone on, it's become quite expansive on what you can study and where you can go with your development while you're in Fire and Rescue. You get all of the national standard training for firefighting when you go through the college and you go to a certain level, but that certainly doesn't stop there. The Certificate 2 and 3s in firefighting operations are just a basic qualification that we get. Nowadays, people go all the way into international studies and interagency studies and specialisation of, it could be chemistry and biologies, and it's the sky's the limit, really. And they actually encourage, the organisation encourages you to expand outside of what we offer as an organisation as well. So the more that you study and qualify yourself, obviously the more enticing you are to progress throughout the organisation. So in fact, all of it is a national standard that you get in qualified as a qualified firefighter, but the sky is the limit as to how well you want to be qualified and into what avenue. So yeah, it's actually quite an interesting time to be part of the organisation.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Brett. And obviously, a lot of the training courses are in line with our Plus Plan priorities around us broadening our capabilities within the organisation. So, it's an exciting time to be part of Fire Rescue New South Wales. The next question, it relates to placement as a recruit firefighter who finishes their training. I'll address that one. When you finish your training as a recruit firefighter after your 13 weeks, the manager operational staffing liaises with the zone commanders to assess what vacancies are available. Generally, those vacancies will be in the Greater Sydney area within our metropolitan zones, across the city, inner city area and western areas. They're generally busy fire stations, and that's designed to make sure people get good exposure to a broad array of incidents when they come out as a brand new recruit firefighter. Our next question is about tattoos. What is your policy when it comes to tattoos on visible areas of the body, for example, arms, legs, or neck? Brett, would you like to address that one?
Yes, I would. There is plenty of people that have tattoos in our organisation. It's not frowned upon at all. We wear a uniform. As long as our uniform is well presented and we are well presented to the community, that's the That's basically what we're looking for. We want people that are kind and generous and community minded and well respecting of each other. So having a tattoo would be like also having a different colour hair, which I'm sure we all know that there's certainly no condition on that. So yeah, it's not a problem at all.
Thanks, Brett. Even people with white hair in my case. Thanks. Appreciate that. The next question I think is a good one for Alex, as a firefighter who has travelled long distances from her previous residential locations to her places of work. And it's regards to firefighter placement. I currently live in Sydney. However, I have plans to move further north to Lennox Head, where my fiance and I have a property and tend to start a family closer to her family support network. As this will be subject to a successful application, I was wondering what is involved in applying for a station outside of the Sydney metropolitan area.
As Brendan already alluded to, recruits are placed in the Sydney metropolitan area subject to vacancies at the time. There are many staff that live outside of Sydney, as I did, and some even interstate. The current rostering arrangements allow flexibility given the 24-hour shifts that we work, but in general, you are able to apply for a position outside of Sydney, but that is subject to wait times, and you will generally be in the metropolitan area for an extended period of time.
Excellent. And just following on from that, the Firefighters Award governs transfer registers, which in particular for Illawarra, Newcastle and the Northern Rivers areas, there's a long list of people living in those areas and commuting to Sydney, and it can take up to 10 years to get placed in those areas. But the process is you apply, you demonstrate your evidence that you do live in those particular areas, and then you'll be as your number comes up, you'll be offered a placement in those particular highly sought after areas. The next question is for Station Officer Brett Johnson. What type of extra roles or higher positions can a firefighter move into once they've been working for a few years? Are there any skills or experience that a trained firefighter will have that may assist in other jobs such as policing, army and national parks or wildlife services?
Yeah, thanks again, sir. Yes, we're actually a highly sought after organisation when we compare to across the state, other agencies as well. Quite often we're looked at for the training that we have, and we can be utilised further down the track at a higher incident management level. We're highly sought after with our trained officers. Certainly along the way, part of our the criteria that we meet in our training certainly could transfer over to other agencies, but it would just depend exactly what agency you transferred to. If you're looking at that, we have people who are in the military. We have people who are also in other agencies as well, that have part-time in those agencies, those government agencies. So yeah, qualifications such as rescue operators, or some things that you may attain through fire safety or bushfire training, they certainly could transfer over to other agencies. But I would kind of like to think that you're applying to stay with us and bring some qualifications to us to add to our team. That's where we would like to think that we're spending our time on you, and you would then in fact like to be part of our organisation for the long term. That's what we'd be looking for.
Great, thanks, Brett. In addition to that, we also have a process for recognition of prior service for retained firefighters and also for firefighters that have been employed in other urban fire services, which helps them reduce their time for promotion. So recognition of the work that they've done prior to joining Fire and Rescue New South Wales. Our next question is for Sue McDougall. Hi, I'm torn. I'm really interested in becoming a full-time firefighter, but I've never done an aptitude test. It's all new to me and the whole process as well. I'm a trainee firefighter at the moment, but I want more. Sue, could you address that, please?
Thank you. Yes, there's lots of information on our website, which is www.fire.nsw.gov.au. And then if you go to our recruitment page and then permanent firefighter, There's lots of information there on our website about including the candidate information pack, which does explain the recruitment process and the minimum job requirements. And in terms of the online testing, there are 4 tests that everybody will have an opportunity to complete, which is cognitive ability, emotional intelligence, work reliability, and work safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I'm going to combine the next 2 questions for you again. Is there any way to train for the Rebellion psychometric tests, and what score do we need to achieve? And the second part, which is the following question, when applying from out of state, will we be required to do all the testing in New South Wales, or will there be places to do it in Queensland or via video link?
Yes, this is an often asked question about how people can improve in terms of completing the online test results. I will say, look, it is a very competitive process. We have about 6,000 to 8,000 people wanting to be a permanent firefighter for around about 120 jobs each year. So that's probably the most challenging part of the process, is getting through the psychometric testing. There are some sites that are available on Google where you can practice for free. Our testing provider is Rebellion, Revellian. So if you go to their website, which is www.rebellion.com, they have information on each test and what it assesses. And for some of the tests, there are practice questions. Now, whether you have to do everything in Sydney, obviously the testing phase is done remotely, so that's done at your home or at a library. But there are some events in the process where you will have to come to Sydney, and that is for our Physical Aptitude Test, and then our supervised verification testing, which will be done at Greenacre. And we're still looking at ways in terms of doing the interviews, whether that's face-to-face or remotely, in terms of these current restrictions that we have in place. And then, of course, we have our medical process. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to skip a couple of questions here, some that are a bit repetitive. And the next one I'll address myself. Are recruits required to stay at the academy during training? So training is conducted at the Emergency Services Academy in Orchard Hills. It's Monday to Friday, and you're not required to stay at the academy, nor is accommodation provided. You will have your weekends off, but it's quite an intense training course, and it's likely that you'll have to do some administrative study outside of the Monday to Friday hours. The next question will be for Sue as well. How do you prepare yourself for applications, and what's the best way to study for the online assessment?
Yeah, look, my advice would be to review our interview guide, which is on the website. We've had some feedback from people who are successful in the process that they found that very useful. So I would certainly look at all the other information on the website. I'd view the videos of our information night. And yeah, in terms of the testing, as I said, if you Google and then have a look at some free tests.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. The next question I would like to give Sue, as a manager of recruitment, an opportunity to address. Hi, my son has applied 3 times over the last few years to become a firefighter, but has not yet been successful. He'll be turning 27 this year, but each time he has been told he has not succeeded after his interview, he is never told why. What can he do to make him more attractive to being chosen and more employable? It seems like you want a person to have multiple degrees before they get a look in. Thank you, Sue.
Okay. Look, I would say candidates who are who are unsuccessful, either at interview or any part of the process, can request feedback by emailing recruitment@fire.nsw.gov.au, and feedback will be provided to those candidates. Look, what we're looking for in terms of successful candidates, we're just looking for diversity. We have people from all walks of life. So it's not about where you come from, whether you have 2 degrees, you have nil. Our minimum requirements is a high school certificate. or a Certificate 3 from TAFE in any field, a trade certificate. And yes, some people have higher qualifications.
Thank you, Sue. Next question may have been addressed already, but I'll state it again and we can fill in any gaps. Hi, I'm just wondering how much weight the cognitive ability test carries in comparison with the interview stage and PAT test. I have been practicing using the Rebellion online course. Admittedly, though, it's not something I find particularly easy. Thanks for your time. That's from Lauren, that question.
Yeah, as I said, the online testing is challenging to get through, mainly because of the number of candidates that apply. So in terms of, practicing, as I said, there's Google, but what we do in terms of our actual process, we just look at candidates to determine who progresses to the next stage. So once we've looked at those candidates and decide, yes, you're going to progress to the physical aptitude test, we then don't refer back to the psychometric test scores. We've changed that over the last couple of years because we felt that was unfair to candidates. So we only use that as a filtering process at the first stage, and then after each stage, candidates are assessed on that stage alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. The next question is, can you break down the recruitment process timeline more specifically, please? From when the applications first open right through to actually starting work as a recruit, how long can we expect this process to be? Also from the initial application to the physical exam, thanks. And this is a challenging question to answer because it is variable. But Sue, would you like to address that?
Yes. Well, due to COVID-19, our timeline for this process will be extended. Any communication or updates will be communicated on the website. So we're just finalising our scheduling of the physical aptitude test and other major events in terms of our process. Normally, the process takes about 5 months from the time you apply till the time that you're advised that you're successful after the interview. But it will take longer this year. And I don't have at this stage, a definite timeline, but it will be updated regularly on the website.
Thank you, Sue. Next question is, I'm on a temporary visa and my application for permanent residency has been lodged more than a year ago. Anytime soon, I know I'll be a permanent resident of this country. I applied for partner visa 2 years back. My wife is a citizen and we already have 2 kids who are citizens of this country as well. What I'm trying to say is I'm 99% positive that my PR is coming out soon, being permanent residency. Will I be considered even if I am just on my temporary status?
Unfortunately, as a New South Wales government agency, we are required to meet those rules, and the rules are to apply for an ongoing role or permanent role, which this one is. You must be an Australian or New Zealand citizen or have permanent resident status at the time the applications close.
Excellent. Next question is age related. I'm 43 years old and I need to know if I can still apply. I'm happy to address that one. Yes, of course you can apply at 43 years of age. In the recent campaigns, we had a great story where a female firefighter was successful in the process around in her 20s, and in the following recruitment process, her father was successful, who around 50 years of age at the time. So, it's not related to age, it's related to capability and your performance through the recruitment processes. So we encourage people of all ages, all backgrounds to apply for Fire and Rescue New South Wales. The next question I'd like to direct to Alex and possibly some assistance from Sue as well. My question is regarding eligibility to apply to be a firefighter. My background is customer service and I have never worked with the SES. What skills do you need to have to be a firefighter? Do you want to initially address that, Alex?
Yeah, look, I mean, in general, as already alluded to, we get people applying from all walks of life. The role that we do is very community oriented. So you need to, I guess for me, the most important skills are, being able to work with different people, being a good communicator, wanting to work hard, being mentally resilient, but also having a physical fitness. The other skills we're lucky enough that we learned through the training process. So provided you're willing to learn and work hard, you can apply from anywhere.
Great. Thank you. Do you want to add anything to anyone, actually, Sue or Brett or Mark, if you want to add anything to that response?
Sorry, yeah, I think I'll reiterate exactly what Alexandra says. A lot of people apply thinking they have an image of what qualifications you need to be on a fire truck, and it doesn't work that way. We don't expect you to understand how that works. We hope you understand what we do in the community. That's what we want you to know. But how to do things is basically our job to instruct you on how to get those skills. You may everyone has different set of skills that they bring to this job, and they're not always what you think that is what we need. A lot of people think I need to know how to change a drill head out, and that's what I'll really need. And that's just not the job that we do. That is one tiny little percentage of opening a branch and putting a fire out. A lot of it has got to do with people being a people person and being able to talk to people and liaise with people and be a team. And if you have that attitude, all of the other skills come from the organisation and from others around you.
Great answer.
Yeah, I would just add that I really agree with what Brett is saying. It's about, and that's why we test people on emotional intelligence. So it's about being able to work together as a team to solve a problem, and fairly quickly, and decisively, working respectfully, and all those technical skills that you how to do things. Yes, that's done in the college training.
And I'll follow on from that. The whole premise of the PAT is that you have the physical aptitude, the base physiological requirements. Any operational skill can arguably be trained. So there's a difference between base aptitude and capability versus experience, skill, and technical capability.
Yeah, it's really rewarding to be able to attract people to Fire Rescue New South Wales who haven't previously considered that occupation as something that they are attracted to. So, and that's what we're seeing more and more over the last few recruitment campaigns, that people are applying and it hasn't been their lifelong ambition, something they've discovered later in life after trying other occupations. The next question is, I currently live and work in New South Wales and I want to change my career. If I was successful and joined the fire service, what is the process of transferring between state to state? As I've spent most of my life in Queensland and sometime in the future I can see myself back in Queensland. I'd be happy to address that one. We don't have a lateral transfer policy. We're independent services within New South Wales and within Queensland and within the other states. Certainly some service recognised good service can assist in applying for firefighter roles in other states, but there's not an immediate lateral transfer policy from state to state. Next question. Hello, everybody. I've had a look at the salaries on the 2020 Recruitment downloadable PDF. I was wondering, the salaries being displayed, are they what you would get paid before or after tax? Also, does a firefighter get paid weekly or fortnightly? Here's everyone. Sue, would you like to address that one?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the salaries in the candidate information pack are the gross amount, and that's per week, and then staff actually get paid every fortnight.
Thank you. The next one, I think we may have addressed this already today, but if there's anything that anyone else wants to add, I'll open it up to our panel. What are the main requirements you need to become a firefighter and proceed through the application process? I open that up to anyone in the panel that would like to discuss.
Oh, well, I might just start off. In terms of the minimum requirements in education, as I said, it's high school certificate or a certificate 3 from TAFE in any discipline or a higher qualification, a green P2 driver's licence. So to achieve that, you're 18 years of age, and obviously either Australian or New Zealand citizen or have permanent resident status. Or if you're a retained firefighter, have at least 5 years continuous service if you don't have the minimum educational qualification.
Okay, anybody else want to add to that?
Just the what we've already reiterated. The requirement, of course, is that you're able to be assessed medically fit for operational duties.
Great. Yes, Mark?
And it would be remiss just to sort of make that point, the physical aptitude test, you need to pass it. No one progresses through the campaign in its entirety unless they've passed the PAT.
Yes, Brett.
And just finally, it's an underlying requirement that is not really written anywhere, but you need to be able to follow instructions, because if you don't follow these instructions that these people are giving you, somewhere along the line you'll be ringing them saying, I missed the date, I didn't do something properly, and that goes throughout your whole career. If you really, really do need to understand to follow the instructions of the people who are leading you in the right direction. Otherwise, you'll face all sorts of complications initially from the start, from the recruitment process.
Great. Thanks to everyone. Next question I'll direct to Sue. Can someone please explain the intake procedure to me? If 100 applicants are recruited, why does a certain percentage have to be female, Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander? Why can't the intake take the best 100 no matter their age, gender, skin colour or race? I really think that's the only fair and equal way to do things. Sue, could you please address that question?
Yes, certainly. Look, there's no set quotas for any group of candidates. Fire and Rescue New South Wales does have a separate pathway for Indigenous candidates. However, anyone can apply in our general campaign. And look, we do recruit the best candidates each year. And over the last probably 2 or 3 years in particular, there's approximately 2/3 of the candidates who are successful are men as opposed to women. So anyone can apply, and as long as and it's quite a daunting process, but if you get through it, I know the firefighters here will say it's the best job in the world.
Excellent. Yes, I can see some smiling and nodding from Alex and Brett. Very good. Okay, Sue, can you join Fire and Rescue New South Wales while you're on your red Pease licence?
Unfortunately, no. I know there's a lot of people that want to just get out there and start, but you do need to have your green P2 driver's licence with a minimum of 6 points on it.
Thank you. Another question for you, Sue. Is it true that the next intake won't be until 2022?
Well, I'm very pleased to say that our recruitment campaign is still going to be launching on the 24th of July this year. Our process may take a little bit longer, as I said, to get through this year because of the COVID-19 restrictions. And the candidates from this campaign probably won't start until early 2022.
Great. Sorry, Sue, another question for you. Good morning. I am a nurse and wish to apply for a firefighter position. In the past, I have had 2 DUIs, one 8 years ago and one approximately 4 years ago. I've grown up significantly since then and I'm far more responsible. I'm wondering if there is any point in applying with this history, or would I get knocked back at the criminal history point?
Look, that information is in our candidate information pack under criminal history check, and there are certain restrictions in terms of alcohol-related offences. For example, if it's a low range, you have to wait 2 years from the date of the offence before you can apply. If it's a mid-range, you have to wait 5 years. And if it's a high range, you have to wait 10 years to apply.
Great. So I'll direct the next question to Station Officer Brett Johnson. Hello, Fire Rescue New South Wales. If applicant is accepted into the 13-week training program, is it a general assumption that you'll be able to maintain current employment? In my case, it's full-time, providing that the training is favoured and attendance is achievable. Thank you.
Okay. I can tell you that it would be very difficult for you to obtain a full-time employment while you're at the training college. The amount of time and focus that you have got that you require to have while you're at the Emergency Services College is significant, and there are times in which you'll be travelling away from the college and possibly doing driver training courses and other things that might be outside of the normal 9 to 5 work hours that you would assume that people are being trained at. So I cannot see a situation where you could possibly keep your full-time employment and then be employed by Fire and Rescue New South Wales. There's a whole lot of other logistical problems too with secondary employment where we need to declare and find out if there's any conflicts of interest with your employment at the time as well. So in fact, I would prefer to say no, you would not be able to keep your full-time employment while training at the college.
Thank you, Brett. Mark, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, Brendan, I would say from the interactions we've had with recruits, which is a long-standing thing, we see them in the recruit program, the guys need to be physically and mentally prepared for each day, each evolution of training so that they learn the most from it and that they remain safe. It is, I suppose, essentially quite physically taxing. It's just a long grind, those 13 weeks. And certainly the information our team has on hand is a lot of the recruits in a fitness sense struggle to maintain the fitness they had when they entered the recruit academy because they're just grinding through all of those training evolutions. So that's another consideration.
Yeah, great answer from you both. And, I agree. It's a full-time commitment. It's a highly sought-after occupation that attracts around 6,000 applicants through every campaign. And the course is similarly quite challenging. So, full commitment and full concentration on that is really required to get through it. And of course, in many people's cases, they still have their friends and family contacts to maintain in that time, which is and your own fitness levels as well. So that would take up the majority of the time outside of that face-to-face learning environment time. The next question is another great one for Brett Johnson, and I'll add a little bit to this one, Brett. What does it take to be a station officer? And I suppose the secondary part that I'll add there is, what does it take to be a successful station officer?
Thank you. What does it take to be a station officer? It's quite a way down the track for people to attain that specific rank. It's approximately, in a ballpark figure, 10 years of service before you attain that for a person who's generally come in without other qualifications. There is so much that happens between entering into the organisation and becoming a station officer level, and it takes many years of study. Quite surprisingly, a lot of people didn't understand that I was studying for so many years while I was in Fire and Rescue. They thought once you have the job, you sit on the fire truck and that's your position, and it doesn't work that way at all. Be prepared that you will be studying, and if you want to progress through the ranks, you'll be studying significantly for a certain amount of years. Like 4 to 6 years is quite common for people to study to go up the ranks to become a station officer, and it's not for everyone. And it's certainly a lot of responsibility, and it's great to aim for those sorts of positions if you're suitable. But in saying that as well, you can certainly be as rewarded being a firefighter with our organisation without having to go to that rank, and you can specialise in other sort of areas as well. To be a good station officer, that's quite. It's a situation where everyone would have a different opinion of what they would think is a good station officer, And just as you would do, it's like saying, what would be can you explain to me what a good boss is? And everyone has a different opinion of that. It really comes back down to what our values are. And I think if we strive for those values and we keep them, and you're fair to people and you treat people as you are treated or like to be treated, then you get as much respect as you give. And that goes out to the community as well. Thinking that you're extra special because you have a rank or because you have a uniform on is certainly not the attitude you will not wear with our organisation, nor the people in our community. So it's a privilege to be able to have the rank, and it's a privilege to be able to have the uniform, and that's the sort of people that are embraced by our organisation, the people who work within it, and the community as well.
That's an excellent answer. Thank you, Brett. And I think it's a good indicator as to why you are such a well-respected station officer. And it's those sort of attitudes that help people be successful no matter what they choose to do within the organisation, whether it's as a firefighter, as an officer, or as in one of our many, many support roles that we have, both in medical and health and fitness team and recruitment and logistics and fleet and training. All the other areas of the organisation are just as important as getting in the fire truck and rolling out the door to attend to the next incident. So that's what helps us to become a better and better organisation now and into the future. Alex might be able to address the next one for us. After successfully becoming a qualified firefighter, completing your training, how's the process of being placed at a station work? And what's the possibility of being placed or becoming a team member at the nearest local station to your residential address?
Yeah, so look, absolutely. It's been spoken about earlier that once you finish training at the academy, there will be meetings that you'll be placed at a station that there is an availability. You can definitely request to be put at a station closer to your house, whether that's in the GSA or the Greater Sydney area. That will probably happen faster. But if you are regional or remote, then you do end up on a list, and when your turn comes up, then you'll be placed at a station closer to your house.
Excellent. And we do have an employee self-service process where people can put their name down or express an interest in being transferred to a particular station. It doesn't always happen quickly, but it's good to have your name on those lists, and so the managers of those areas understand that you have an interest in moving into a particular location or a station that has particular qualifications. The next question is for me. Hi all, just wondering when the 13-week training course takes place. Is it once or twice a year, or is it changed to suit operational requirements? We have a group called the Workforce Planning Focus Group, which designates how many training courses run each 12-month period. At the moment, we run about 5 to 6 recruit training courses every year, and each course has 16 applicants that begin their training and go through for the 13-week period. That can change with the amount of people that leave the organisation, so we have the ability to add 1 or 2 extra classes each year, or if we need to slow that up, we can also slow it down to around 4 recruit classes each year. Next question is a good one for Brett. I was just curious about what shifts are commonly worked throughout Fire Rescue New South Wales stations. Do they differentiate between stations, and how long you or any of your colleagues have found it hard to adapt to these shift works? And so how long does it take to adapt to shift work in your experience, Brett?
Shift work, if you've never done shift work before, you certainly will have to adapt to it. It not only is it just adapting to the time slots and how you'll be dealing with your home life and things like that, but certainly I like to emphasise on the physical side of things and the physiological side of things, which Mark might be able to assist us with as well, because if you don't keep your diet up and your exercise up and your sleep patterns up, you really can be thrown out with our shifts. We work, most people in the GSA will work a 24-hour shift. So that means 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 24 hours on, and the remaining 5 calendar days, including that day that you've just come off, are off. Then you start the cycle again. And you've got to imagine that some of these shifts can be very strenuous, and they can be, if you do have a busy shift and a serious incident has occurred, you certainly do feel it the next day. It's a long shift. This is why it's so important to have all of your diet, your exercise, your sleep, your life organised. And it does take a period of time, a long period of time, to adjust to that. It takes your family a period of time to adjust to that. It takes people around you time to adjust to that. You'll find you may be visiting the shops at a different time to other people, or going to the cinemas at a different time to other people. So life around you is very different to working a regular 9-to-5 job. So I'm not sure if that suits in as well, Mark, with some of the physiological things or preparations for your body, but certainly I found that that's something we needed.
Sure. Brett, rather than repeat what you'd said, I would just add to that that firefighters are very resourceful and they adapt very quickly. They really do understand that they need to recharge themselves mentally, physically, dare I say emotionally as well. They work as a team to figure out how to get that done, and they can also engage with support services on the right programs and initiatives to do that. Probably said another way, probably at the end of a busy 24-hour shift on your day off, smashing yourself at the gym, at the 24-hour gym, is probably not the best tool that you can pull out of your toolbox. But it's amazing how we as a section, we learn a lot from the operational workforce on the right tools to help you actually back up from one shift to the next. The way that the firefighters adapt it is really good, because the reality is you may be awake, or you are awake in the night, and you're often working quite hard, and your body is designed to be asleep at night. That's a physiological fact. But firefighters manage it very well.
Thank you. Chrissy, you got anything further you would like to add to that response?
Oh, no, I think it's been summed up very well, except to say, probably further on for the services we have available to you as well. We have obviously the health and fitness advisors, have our team, which is health and medical, and we also have a wellbeing coordinator and some psychologists and people like Alex Moulos, who's joined the team now as a wellbeing officer, to help you through any difficulties you face on the job as well.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to combine the last question, and Sue asked that you can address that for us. If selected, how long is the wait before starting the training? And is there a limit to how many times someone can apply to join Fire and Rescue New South Wales?
Yeah, okay. So in terms of each campaign, people can only apply once. So that's just a general rule, and that is enforced. In terms of how long it takes to be allocated a recruit class, it can take a while. So it can be over 12 months, but we will keep you informed, every month, just to, making sure that we keep in contact with you. And candidates have waited a long time in terms of the classes, only because, as Brendan has mentioned, every class is 16. And, they're scheduled in terms of, being able to resource that class in terms of training, and also based on operational need. But anyone who is successful through the interview will eventually be allocated a recruit class. Oh.
Yeah,
sorry.
Okay. No, thanks. And just for clarification, everyone, if you're not successful the first time you apply for the general campaign, you're welcome to apply the next time the campaign's up and running again. Yes,
definitely. We've had a lot of candidates that, for example, I think the longest person has taken 17 years until they were successful. So yeah, don't give up the first time. And in fact, many people don't achieve it the first time. Some are lucky, but most aren't. So anyway, best of luck.
That's great. And I'll just give one last opportunity for any other comments from the panel, and hopefully you find the time to learn a little bit more about Station Officer Brett Johnson and Firefighter Alexandra Moulos in their individual speeches.
One more thing too, if any of you have any questions about a medical condition that you have or you're aware of, and you want to ask us questions about that, remembering that we don't actually do pre-assessments before recruitment, but you could contact recruitment and they can send me the message. We can give you general advice.
And look, just a reminder for everybody, please keep your eyes on the website. It is the best source of information. So it's www.fire.nsw.gov.au. Go to our recruitment, then permanent firefighter page. And we'll be regularly providing updates on our timeline and any changes to our activities. And we also have a Facebook page. And so if you join our Facebook, you'll get alerts. Anyway, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Okay, so thanks very much. I want to thank everybody who has provided a question for us today, and also thank anybody who's viewing this online for your interest in joining Fire and Rescue New South Wales. I'd also like to just go around to each of our panel members today and like to thank Chrissy and Mark from our Health and Safety branch for their insights and their expertise. Thanks very much to both of you. Also, a big thanks to Sue as the Manager of Recruitment for all your work and for participating today. And I'd also like to thank our illustrious firefighters, Alex Moulos and also Station Officer Brett Johnson for your contributions. And, we look forward to all the people applying for the next campaign and best of luck for your efforts.